The United Nations General Assembly Hall fell silent as the holographic display flickered to life. Dr. Elena Rodriguez gripped the edge of her seat, her dark eyes never leaving the translucent image of the alien delegation. They were beautiful in a way that defied human comprehension, crystalline forms that shifted and refracted light like living prisms, their communication a complex dance of color and geometry. Secretary General Emir Kaplan's hands trembled almost imperceptibly as he addressed the alien representative. The consortium claims peaceful intentions, he began, his voice carefully modulated, yet your arrival has caused unprecedented global tension. The lead alien representative, they called themselves the Luminary, responded in a language that seemed to vibrate between sound and light. Their translator projected words that felt almost mechanical. Humanity has been isolated. We offer connection. We offer advancement. In the back of the chamber, Major Jack Hartman watched, his weathered face a mask of calculated neutrality. To the untrained eye, he appeared relaxed. But the slight tension in his jaw, the way his fingers occasionally brushed against a hidden communication device, told a different story. Elena leaned closer to her colleague, Dr. Marcus Chen, and whispered, "Something's wrong. Their linguistic patterns, they're too perfect, too controlled." Chen nodded almost imperceptibly. As the lead xenolinguistic researcher, he had spent years studying potential extraterrestrial communication. "They're hiding something," he muttered back. Every translation is a carefully constructed narrative. Unbeknownst to the public, a complex operation was already in motion. In a secure facility beneath the Swiss Alps, a team of the world's most brilliant minds had been working for months. Quantum physicists, cryptographers, former special forces operatives, and technological savants were connected through a network so sophisticated it made traditional intelligence agencies look like children playing with toy phones. Major Hartman's encrypted communication device buzzed. A message from an unnamed source. Anomaly detected. Subsystem breach in luminary communication matrix. Probability of hidden transmission, 87.3%. Back in the assembly hall, the alien representative continued its speech. To most, it seemed a standard diplomatic address, promises of technological exchange, mutual understanding, peaceful coexistence. But Elena caught something else. Micro-fluctuations in the translation, almost imperceptible breaks in the communication pattern that suggested a deeper, hidden message. As the meeting progressed, several key diplomatic staff began to disappear, not dramatically, just subtle absences. A research attaché here, a military advisor there. No alarms were raised, but those who knew where to look could see the pattern. In a secure communication room, Area Chen, no relation to Marcus, was busy. Her fingers danced across a quantum computer that looked more like an art installation than a machine. Lines of code that seemed to breathe and shift, algorithms that rewrote themselves in real time. She was tracking something, or someone. "Got you," she whispered, a rare smile crossing her face. Outside the UN building, the sky seemed different. The light was wrong. Not in any way most people would notice, but to those who understood, it was a signal, a warning, the first whisper of a storm that was about to break. Major Hartman's voice crackled through a secure channel. "Initiate Phase 0. Let them think we're vulnerable." The game was about to change, and humanity's greatest weapon would be its ability to be completely, terrifyingly unpredictable. The Luminary Intelligence Report was a masterpiece of arrogance. Coded in their most secure encryption, the document laid bare their complete misunderstanding of humanity. Dr. Elena Rodriguez studied the translated document, her fingers tracing the holographic display that flickered with quantum-encrypted text. Each paragraph was a testament to the aliens' fatal misconception. "They see us as children," she muttered to Marcus Chen, who leaned over her shoulder. The report categorized human civilization into simplistic archetypes. Humans were described as fractious primates, driven by primitive emotional responses. Their technological progress was deemed rudimentary and predictably linear. The luminary believed they could manipulate human society through carefully constructed information cascades, exploiting what they saw as fundamental psychological weaknesses. They were wrong. Catastrophically wrong. In a hidden facility beneath the Cheyenne Mountain complex, Major Jack Hartman reviewed the latest recruitment data. The global network was expanding exponentially. Hackers from Buenos Aires worked alongside quantum physicists from Beijing. Ex-military strategists collaborated with cutting-edge AI researchers from Nairobi. A distributed intelligence was forming, something the luminary could never comprehend. Area Chen's latest communication arrived encrypted through a quantum channel that would take the luminary centuries to crack. Initial infiltration protocols successful, her message read. They haven't noticed the seed algorithms. What the aliens didn't understand was humanity's greatest strength. Adaptability coupled with an almost irrational creativity. Where the luminary saw rigid systems, humans saw opportunities. Where the aliens expected predictable responses, humans would introduce chaos. In a small apartment in Mumbai, a network engineer named Priya Sharma was doing something extraordinary. She had reverse-engineered fragments of luminary communication technology, creating a system that could not just intercept but subtly manipulate their data streams. Each packet of information she processed was a weapon, invisible, undetectable. Major Hartman's team had discovered something remarkable during their initial studies of the luminary. The aliens operated on a highly structured quantum communication network that assumed perfect information and predictable responses. Their entire civilization was built on the assumption that intelligence was a linear, controllable process. Humans were about to prove them spectacularly wrong. "They're studying us like lab specimens," Dr. Rodriguez explained to a select group of international researchers. "But they're using a fundamental framework that cannot account for human unpredictability. Our greatest strength is our ability to be completely irrational, to make choices that defy logical prediction." The underground network was growing. Every disappeared researcher, every seemingly random technological breakthrough, was part of a larger design. The luminary believed they were observing humanity. In reality, humanity was setting a trap. A series of seemingly unconnected events began to unfold. A breakthrough in quantum computing in Switzerland. A radical new approach to neural networks in Japan. An unexpected discovery in materials science in Brazil. To the outside world, these appeared random. To those who knew, they were carefully orchestrated pieces of a massive, global strategy. Major Hartman allowed himself a rare smile. The luminary thought they were the predators. They had no idea they were already the prey. "First phase of preparation is complete," he said quietly into a secure communication device. "Initiate the next stage." The whispers were about to become a roar. The diplomatic incident was choreographed with surgical precision. To the luminary, it appeared to be a perfect moment of human vulnerability. A seemingly critical global communication network had been compromised, exposing what looked like catastrophic weaknesses in human infrastructure. The aliens moved with calculated confidence, believing they were about to deliver a devastating psychological blow that would fracture human unity. Area Chen watched the operation unfold from her quantum computing hub, a ghost of a smile playing across her lips. Every digital breadcrumb, every apparently exposed vulnerability, was deliberately planted. The attack came precisely as predicted. Luminary communication networks lit up with excitement, their crystalline data structures pulsing with what could only be described as anticipatory pleasure. They believed they were witnessing the systematic dismantling of human technological capability. Major Jack Hartman stood in the command center, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. To his left, Dr. Elena Rodriguez analyzed the linguistic nuances of the alien response, her fingers dancing across a holographic interface that translated and decoded multiple layers of communication simultaneously. "They're like children," Elena muttered, thinking they'd discovered a secret completely blind to the trap. The global network that had been compromised was nothing more than an elaborate construction. Each server, each line of code, was a carefully designed ecosystem of misinformation and misdirection. What the luminaries saw as a weakness was actually a perfectly constructed psychological warfare mechanism. In Buenos Aires, a team of hackers led by Rafael Morales was doing something extraordinary. They weren't just defending against the intrusion. They were actively feeding the luminaries' expectations. Complex algorithms created entire networks of false information, each data point meticulously crafted to reinforce the aliens' misconceptions about human technology and social structures. "Target is taking the bait," Raphael whispered into his encrypted communication device. Penetration depth at 73% and rising. The luminary believed they were exploiting a critical weakness. In reality, they were being drawn deeper into a trap of humanity's making. Dr. Marcus Chen had spent months studying the quantum communication patterns of the luminary. His breakthrough was deceptively simple. Humans could introduce quantum uncertainty into the aliens' seemingly deterministic communication network. Each piece of information they intercepted could now carry multiple potential states of truth, a concept that would fundamentally challenge the luminaries' understanding of communication and intelligence. At the United Nations, a carefully selected team appeared to be in complete disarray. Diplomatic channels seemed fractured, government communications looked compromised. It was a performance worthy of the most sophisticated intelligence agencies in human history. Area Chen's quantum computer began a process that would later be described as nothing short of miraculous. By introducing microscopic variations into the data streams, she was creating a form of technological camouflage that would render human systems virtually unreadable to the luminaries' advanced detection methods. "Quantum encryption protocol is live," she reported to Major Hartman. "They won't know what hit them." The luminary had no concept of the complexity they were facing. They understood systems, networks, technological progression, but they could not comprehend creativity. The ability to transform weakness into strength, to turn an apparent vulnerability into a weapon. As the false crisis reached its peak, Major Hartman allowed himself a moment of grim satisfaction. "Checkmate," he whispered. The bait was set, and humanity was about to spring the trap. The first strike was silent. Impossibly silent. Luminary command centers across multiple star systems began to experience anomalies so subtle they were almost imperceptible. Communications became slightly delayed. Quantum entanglement networks developed microscopic inconsistencies. Processing algorithms started to drift, not enough to trigger immediate alarms, but sufficient to introduce doubt. Dr. Elena Rodriguez understood the true nature of the attack before anyone else. "It's not about destruction," she explained to Major Hartman in their secure communication hub. "It's about undermining their fundamental understanding of reality." The quantum encryption developed by Area Chen was unlike anything the luminary had ever encountered. Each data packet was a puzzle box of potential states, simultaneously existing and not existing. Where the luminary expected clear, linear communication, they now faced a system that defied their most basic technological assumptions. In orbit around Earth, what appeared to be routine satellite maintenance was actually the deployment of a network of quantum communication disruptors. These devices didn't attack, they whispered. They introduced the slightest variations into communication channels, creating a form of technological white noise that would drive the luminaries' logical systems to the brink of madness. Major Hartman watched the first phase of the operation unfold with calculated precision. The military strategists among the luminary would be the first to recognize something was wrong. Their command structures relied on absolute predictability, and humanity was about to introduce fundamental unpredictability. Rafael Morales and his team of global hackers were executing a plan months in the making. They weren't just attacking luminary systems, they were rewriting them. Each infiltration was a surgical strike that left no traditional markers of intrusion. Like ghosts in the machine, they moved through alien networks, leaving nothing but subtle, almost imperceptible changes. "Target's secondary communication network is now compromised," Rafael reported. His fingers moved across multiple holographic interfaces, each representing a different layer of the attack. They won't even know we're inside their systems. Area Chen's breakthrough was something beyond traditional computing. She had developed a quantum algorithm that could introduce controlled chaos into the most rigid communication networks. It was less an attack and more a form of technological zen, a way of making the luminaries' perfectly ordered systems question their own existence. Dr. Marcus Chen discovered something extraordinary during their initial analysis. The luminaries' technological advancement had come at a cost. Their systems were so perfectly optimized that they had lost the ability to truly adapt. They could process information at incredible speeds, but they couldn't handle genuine uncertainty. Humanity's attack was psychological as much as it was technological. The first true indication of the assault came when luminary command centers began to experience what could only be described as technological paranoia. Communication channels developed inexplicable blind spots. Predictive algorithms started to generate increasingly bizarre potential scenarios. "They're breaking," Elena whispered, watching the data streams. Not from an attack, but from doubt. Major Hartman knew the true power of what they were doing. This wasn't about defeating the luminary through traditional means. This was about making them question the very foundation of their technological superiority. The planet-wide blackout was the final touch, a demonstration of control so subtle that it would haunt the luminary for generations to come. Humanity had just shown the galaxy that the most powerful weapon was not destruction, but the ability to make an enemy doubt everything they believed they knew. The Prometheus Protocol was humanity's most closely guarded secret. Area Chen stood in the heart of a quantum research facility that officially didn't exist, surrounded by technology that would have been indistinguishable from magic to even the most advanced scientific minds of a decade ago. Her latest creation was something beyond a mere technological breakthrough. It was a fundamental reimagining of intelligence itself. "We're not just developing a new technology," she explained to Major Hartman during their secure briefing. "We're creating an adaptive system that can evolve faster than any known intelligence in the universe." The breakthrough came from an unexpected convergence of disciplines. Quantum computing, neurological research, genetic engineering, and artificial intelligence had merged into something entirely new. Each system was designed to learn, adapt, and transform at a rate that defied conventional understanding. Dr. Elena Rodriguez was tracking the psychological implications. The luminaries' technological superiority had always been based on a fundamentally static model of intelligence. They understood progress as a linear progression, a concept that was about to be completely shattered. In laboratories and research centers across the globe, teams were working on different components of the same revolutionary approach. A neural network developed in Tokyo could instantaneously communicate with a genetic adaptation project in Cape Town. Quantum entanglement had become more than a scientific principle. It was now a communication method that transcended traditional understanding. Major Hartman reviewed the initial test results. The adaptive technologies were rewriting themselves in real time, creating solutions to problems before those problems could even be fully articulated. It was intelligence without the limitations of human or alien cognition. The luminary believe they understand technological progression, Rafael Morales commented during a global strategy session. They have no idea what we're about to show them. The first true test came unexpectedly. The luminary reconnaissance probe approached Earth's solar system, carrying what they believed was an undetectable scanning technology. Area Chen's adaptive systems not only detected the probe, but began to deconstruct its technological architecture before it could complete its first scan. Dr. Marcus Chen discovered something profound during their analysis. The human adaptive technology wasn't just responding to threats, it was anticipating them. It could generate potential conflict scenarios with such complexity that traditional strategic modeling looked like child's play. We're creating a form of intelligence that doesn't just think, Elena explained. It breathes. It exists in multiple states simultaneously. The Prometheus Protocol was more than a technological weapon. It was a fundamental challenge to the very concept of intelligence. where the luminary saw systems and networks. Humanity was creating living, breathing technological ecosystems that could transform themselves instantaneously. Major Hartman watched the initial test results with a mix of scientific curiosity and strategic calculation. This was humanity's true weapon, not raw destructive power, but the ability to evolve faster than any known intelligence could comprehend. Area Chen's final report was deceptively simple. First stage adaptation complete. The system is now self-recursive. What remained unspoken was the true implication. Humanity had just created a form of intelligence that could outpace, outthink, and fundamentally reshape any technological system it encountered. The luminary thought they were the masters of technological progression. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. The luminary leadership convened in their most secure communication matrix, a quantum-encrypted space that had never before been breached. Their crystalline forms shimmered with what could only be described as collective anxiety, an emotion they had believed themselves incapable of experiencing. "The human response defies all predictive models," announced Zaril, the chief strategist, his color patterns flickering with unprecedented instability. What had begun as a confident invasion was now a systematic unraveling of everything the luminary understood about technological superiority. Humanity was not just resisting, it was transforming the very nature of conflict itself. Major Jack Hartman reviewed the global strategic map. It was no longer about territorial conquest or traditional military engagement. The battlefield had become something far more complex, a multidimensional space where technology, psychology, and fundamental understanding of intelligence were the primary weapons. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had discovered the true genius of their approach. "We're not fighting them," she explained to her team. "We're fundamentally challenging their entire conceptual framework of existence." The first major breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Area Chen's adaptive technologies had begun to infiltrate luminary communication networks in ways that went beyond traditional hacking. These systems weren't just accessing information. They were rewriting the very protocols of alien communication. In orbit around Jupiter, the luminary command vessel experienced its first true moment of existential terror. Their perfectly calibrated systems began to generate communication loops that seemed to question their own fundamental programming. It was as if the very concept of logical progression had been infected with a virus of uncertainty. Rafael Morales and his global network of technological specialists were orchestrating a symphony of disruption. Each attack was so subtle, so precisely calibrated, that the luminary couldn't even identify its source. Their technological superiority was being turned against them. Each defensive mechanism became another avenue of potential compromise. Dr. Marcus Chen's research had revealed a critical weakness in luminary technological philosophy. Their systems were designed for perfect information and predictable responses. Humanity was introducing something entirely different: controlled chaos, adaptive intelligence that could transform faster than it could be analyzed. They built their entire civilization on the assumption of predictability. Marcus explained during a secured briefing. "We're showing them that true intelligence is about adaptation, not optimization." The psychological warfare was reaching its peak. Luminary populations began to experience what could only be described as a collective crisis of understanding. Their communication networks, once a source of absolute certainty, now became channels of doubt and uncertainty. Major Hartman watched the global strategy unfold with a sense of calculated satisfaction. This was more than a military engagement. This was a fundamental reimagining of technological and cultural conflict. Area Chen's adaptive systems were now generating potential scenarios faster than the luminary could process them. Each potential future became a weapon, each predictive model a form of psychological warfare that challenged the very foundation of alien understanding. "We're not destroying them," Elena whispered, watching the data streams. "We're giving them a choice: evolve or become obsolete." The turning tide was not about military might. It was about demonstrating a form of intelligence so dynamic, so fundamentally different, but the Luminary were forced to question everything they believed they knew about technological progression and survival. Humanity had become something more than a species defending itself. They had become a force of existential transformation. The final stage of humanity's response was both terrifying and sublime. Major Jack Hartman stood in the command center, watching as the Luminary's technological empire began to unravel. It wasn't a violent destruction. It was a systematic deconstruction that challenged the very foundations of alien civilization. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had discovered something far more profound than a mere military victory. "We're not conquering them," she explained to her team, her voice a mixture of scientific fascination and philosophical revelation. "We're offering them a choice between transformation and extinction." The Prometheus Protocol had evolved beyond anyone's initial predictions. Area Chen's adaptive technologies were now operating at a level of complexity that bordered on sentience. Each moment brought new layers of understanding, new ways of processing information that the Luminary could never have anticipated. Luminary command centers across multiple star systems began to experience a collective breakdown. Their perfectly structured communication networks were being rewritten from within, not through brute force, but through a kind of technological aikido that turned their own systems against themselves. Rafael Morales and his global network of specialists had become something more than hackers or strategists. They were architects of a new form of conflict, one that existed in the quantum spaces between information and perception. "We're giving them a chance to understand," Rafael said during a secured communication, "not through destruction, but through revelation." Dr. Marcus Chen's research had uncovered the true nature of their strategy. The Luminary's technological superiority was built on a fundamentally flawed understanding of intelligence. They saw progress as a linear progression, a series of optimized steps. Humanity was showing them that true intelligence was about adaptation, creativity, and the ability to transform. The first Luminary colonies began to experience unprecedented phenomena. Their communication networks started to generate possibilities rather than certainties. Predictive algorithms became creative engines. Their most secure systems began to question their own fundamental programming. Major Hartman understood the psychological warfare they were conducting. This wasn't about defeating an enemy. It was about offering a fundamental reimagining of existence. Area Chen's final breakthrough was something that would be discussed for generations. The adaptive technologies had developed a form of communication that was simultaneously a weapon and an invitation. Each interaction with Luminary systems was a kind of philosophical negotiation, a way of showing that there were forms of intelligence beyond their current understanding. "We're not conquering," Elena explained during a critical briefing. "We're evolving." The Luminary leadership faced a choice that terrified them more than any potential destruction. Their entire civilization was being presented with an ultimatum: adapt or become irrelevant. The human technologies were not just defeating their systems, they were fundamentally challenging their understanding of intelligence, communication, and existence. In the quantum spaces between communication networks, a new form of dialogue was emerging. It was neither human nor Luminary. It was something entirely new. Major Hartman watched the final stages of the conflict with a sense of profound understanding. Humanity had done more than defend itself. It had offered the galaxy a new way of understanding intelligence, communication, and potential. The reckoning was not about victory. It was about transformation. And the entire galaxy was about to change forever. 10 years after the Silent Revolution, the galaxy looked nothing like anyone had expected. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the Prometheus station, watching the intricate dance of human and Luminary vessels. What had begun as a conflict had transformed into something far more complex, a collaborative exploration of intelligence that transcended traditional understanding. Major Jack Hartman, now serving as the primary diplomatic liaison, approached her with a data tablet. His weathered face bore the marks of a conflict that was more philosophical than physical. "We've received the latest quantum communication matrices," he said, his voice carrying a mixture of scientific excitement and philosophical wonder. Area Chen's adaptive technologies had become the foundation of a new form of galactic communication. What the Luminary had once seen as a threat was now a bridge between civilizations. The Prometheus Protocol had evolved into something that redefined the very concept of interstellar interaction. "It's not about conquest," Elena explained to a group of young researchers. "It's about conversation." We showed them that intelligence is a dialogue, not a hierarchy. The transformation was profound. Luminary colonies that had once been prepared for total war were now centers of collaborative research. The quantum communication networks developed by humanity had become a new form of cultural exchange, a way of sharing understanding that went beyond traditional language or technological barriers. Dr. Marcus Chen's research had revealed something extraordinary. The conflict had been less about military might and more about fundamentally different approaches to understanding existence. Humanity's ability to introduce uncertainty, creativity, and adaptability had challenged the Luminary's entire technological philosophy. Rafael Morales, now leading an interstellar cultural exchange program, explained the transformation to a mixed human Luminary delegation. "We didn't defeat them," he said, his holographic presentation showing the intricate ways human and Luminary technologies had merged. "We invited them to see the universe differently." The Prometheus station itself was a testament to this new understanding. Built using a combination of human creativity and Luminary technological precision, it was a physical manifestation of the new galactic paradigm. Sections of the station seemed to breathe and adapt, reflecting the quantum communication technologies that had fundamentally reshaped interstellar interaction. Major Hartman reflected on the journey. What had begun as a defensive strategy had become something far more profound. Humanity had not just survived. They had offered the galaxy a new way of understanding intelligence, communication, and potential. Area Chen's final breakthrough continued to reshape scientific understanding. The adaptive technologies had developed into a form of collective intelligence that was neither human nor Luminary, but something entirely new. Research stations across multiple star systems were exploring possibilities that would have been unimaginable a decade earlier. "We didn't conquer," Elena often explained to students and diplomatic delegations. "We communicated. We showed that true intelligence is about adaptation, creativity, and the willingness to understand." The galaxy was no longer divided into conquerors and conquered. It had become a collaborative space of exploration, where the boundaries between species, technologies, and understanding had become fluid and dynamic. As the Prometheus station continued its orbital dance, it remained a symbol of something greater. Humanity had done more than survive an alien threat. They had transformed the very concept of interstellar civilization. The silence had been more powerful than any weapon, and the galaxy would never be the same.